So I'm currently enrolled as in a Master by Research at UTS, as you said. So I'm about to finish the first year of my candidature, and I just recently started my data collection. So I'd like to start with a summary of my research. So I'm going to talk a little bit of my research, of my theoretical framework, and more extensively about my methodology, so the use of Facebook and Instagram as research tools sorry, and sources of data. I'm going to show you also some of my data, and I will finish with the significance and a conclusion. So the aim of my research is to look at social media in second language identity development by investigating the impact of new modes of engagement with both host and home communities caused by the widespread use of social media. So my research is located at the intersection of three different fields. So the identity development in study abroad, the identity development in social media, and the use of social media in study abroad. So at this intersection, there are three notions who come to inform my study. So identity, agency, and investment. I have one research question for each notion. So firstly, how is student second language identity shaped through the use of social media while abroad? The second question is, what aspects of their identities do students decide to show to other members from both host and home communities on social media while abroad? And lastly, how and why students invest in using social media while abroad? So to address these questions, my study draws on the post-structuralist approach of identity and agency, and also the model of investment developed by Darwin and Norton. So this framework enables me to conceptualize study abroad and social media that both challenge students' identity and are conducive to their second language identity. So the model is developed in response to the demands of what the authors call the New World Order. And Norton argues that learners invest in a target language with the expectation of a return of investment. So that model is particularly valuable for my research, since it regards the learners as agents with a complex identity that changes across time and space, and who move also fluidly across offline and online spaces. So as tools that mediate interaction and self-presentation, both Facebook and Instagram become an extension of the self. So they are platforms where identity is perpetually formed, curated, and transformed. So answering my research question will bring an insight into how students present themselves to both communities on social media, and into how they make conscious choices to achieve desired outcomes, such as, for example, facilitate relationships, create new social networks, or integrate a specific community. So my methodology, my research participants, so there are 7 students of French from UTS who are studying in France and Switzerland for 2 semesters, and in the in-country study program. So with the exception of 2 students, they are all lodging in students' residencies, and with both local and international students. So they are in their 4th year of their degree in international studies, and they have been studying French for at least 3 years. So my study draws on 5 complementary sources of data. So the main source is the Facebook and Instagram data. So these data include posts, comments, any relevant publication, including pictures during their period abroad. So the purpose of my research, for the purpose of my research, sorry, I have created one Facebook and one Instagram account. So these accounts are completely neutral, no personal information. I have strictly no interaction with my participants. And they friended me after the first interview before their departure. So in my methodology, there are 3 semi-structured interviews, a pre-departure interview, an interview through Skype halfway through, and a post-sojourn interview. So in addition, I'm also following the blogs of 2 of my participants. So I think it's important to say that these blogs have not been created for my research. So they were maintaining them before as e-journals to document their experience. So before going into detail of the methodology and showing you my data sample, I need to explain why we should use Facebook and Instagram as research tools and sources of data. So first, they are among the most popular social media platforms for the tertiary students. Second, the majority of the research on study abroad rely on self-reported data collected from the participants using pre- and post-sojourn interviews, diaries, e-journals also. And however, this data may not be sufficient to report in depth and in detail the changes that occur during this period. Stewart compares the study abroad period to a black hole when a researcher loses contact with his participants. And social media platform can greatly reduce this limitation and enable a close observation day by day. So although some research have partially addressed that black hole issue by using e-journals and blogs, they still depend on participant self-reported experiences and are thus prone to biases. So the first bias is the participant recall issue. So basically the period of time between the report from the participant and the experience can lead to a lack of accuracy in the data. The second bias is the study fatigue on the part of the participants. So the use of diaries, e-journals, and blogs can be very demanding in terms of time and labor. Third, most of the research using blogs and e-journals, students' contribution are obtained through assessments, evaluations, and honorariums are also sometimes offered. So this can lead to a lack of spontaneity in the data. So there is thus a clear need to find new ways to follow students while abroad. So my research addresses these issues by using data collected from student Facebook and Instagram accounts that enables an almost non-intrusive observation. So basically the researcher blends in with the audience and fades into the background. And data are collected directly from their accounts when they decide to share it. The whole methodology relies on participants' willingness, and it is assumed that they would share a similar content without being observed by a researcher. So, since the methodology does not require any specific task to fulfill, the issue of study fatigue is also somewhat eased. Lastly, social media also facilitates data collection across time and space at relatively low cost for the researcher. And lastly, social media are spaces where identity, agency, and investment are performed through a wide range of possibilities like text, pictures, and videos. So at the core are located two fundamental social dynamics: the self-presentation, tightly linked to identity, and the need to belong by creating, building, and maintaining relationships. And this is especially silent in Facebook and Instagram, which enable the researcher, the user, to build and present a member profile, to establish relationships with other members, and to share textual and visual content. And this last point is actually very important, because my pre-departure interviews and my preliminary data that I am going to show you collected on Facebook both show an extensive use of photographs by the participants. So, and the photographs have become a tool of identity construction and communication. So they basically fulfill two functions: the function of remembering and the function of self-presentation. So with the rise of digital photography, self-presentation is now a major function of photographs, which are used for the affirmation of personhood and personal bonds. So this is very obvious, I think, in the selfie phenomenon. And yeah, sorry. And since Facebook and Instagram offer both the possibility to post pictures taken spontaneously and the possibility also to create albums, users are given the agency to manage their own self-presentation and the way they document their experience abroad. So I'm going to show you now the sample of my data. So these data have been collected over January, so last month, for over 1 month only. So I actually received 2 days ago the ethics clearance to start my data collection through Instagram. And 4 of my participants went abroad in early January, so the data are mainly from them, and the remaining 3 weeks later. So these are therefore my preliminary data, since the observation will be conducted over 2 semesters. All the posts are all completely anonymized, in accordance with the recommendation from the ethics committee. And we can see already the different phases of the immersion process. So some similarities can already be observed, such as the departure announcement, few days before the departure. So these posts are posted either from my participants themselves or relatives. The departure day, of course. So with the traditional, so I guess at least in Sydney, of the picture taken in front of the departure sign at the airport. So the comments in those posts are always caring, so encouraging for a good experience, and also with many requests of updates and photos. So having just arrived in France and Switzerland, my participants liked the opportunity to expand their contacts with locals. So most of the posts reflect this phase with first contact with the host community. So they are either group photos with peers, selfies, of course, and a self-portrait in front of monuments and typical local buildings. Among these first posts, we also find stereotypes related to France, of course. And so they are not much different with to tourists. So they use the pictures to document their experience as mementos. So the settling in a new environment is also another phase that is documented by my participants. So these photos show more intimate daily life scenes. So my participants still appear in the pictures. But the difference here, I guess, it's that they are more captured in a moment of motion rather than poses. So thanks to the Facebook tagging tool, I could find out that the other people you can see on the pictures here are other international students, so mainly from Canada and the US. So as we go along in the process of immersion, I expect to find more of similar pictures in ordinary contexts, but with more local acquaintances. So these data are the starting point of my observation, and I'm quite confident to witness changes over time as we go along with the immersion process. So since Facebook and Instagram are the data I can collect from Facebook and data are essentially photos, visual analysis will be a crucial component of my research. So to make sense of the photos, I will use the photo elicitation method. So that basically inserts photos in the research interviews. So in my study, participant photos serve as a rich resource of retrospective reflections during both Skype and the post-June interview. So we have the captions and the comments that can provide some information about the setting and the condition, but they don't give like a comprehensive idea of the meaning of the picture. So that's why the interviews are very important, because without the interview, the photographs are meaningless. So the argument in using photo elicitation is that photographs are apparently so central to the in the way my participants present themselves that such methods can elicit more concrete information and trigger memory. And the aim is to reveal the aspects of their identity they decide to show to the communities they interact with on social media, and what aspect they enhance, what aspect they hide, and more importantly, for what reasons. So again, with the idea to obtain a more comprehensive picture of my participants, the blogs are going, I think, to be very crucial. Okay, to give you an example, the first blog entry from a participant seems to indicate that her first days in Switzerland were very challenging emotionally. She described her loneliness and her tears, whereas her pictures on Facebook at the same period present her smiling, as you can see, and surrounded by peers. So these blogs are crucial to widen the perspective on their experience and to reveal what the photographs do not show. So as a conclusion, I would say that study abroad is an immersion process that evolves over time. So I'm expecting to see that evolvement in my participants' posts on Facebook and Instagram. So as demonstrated, I hope, these platforms help to non-intrusively follow students abroad day by day and enable researchers to gain a more comprehensive insight into students' experiences. Drawing closer to the changes undergone by students enables a better understanding of how students' second language identity is shaped through the use of social media while abroad, and what aspects of their identities they decide to show on social media, and what are the implications in the way they access the host community. So in this sense, I hope that my research will contribute to the current vibrant discussion of identity construction in social media, and especially in the visual self-presentation. And I hope that also my study will contribute to reposition the role of social media within study abroad by fully integrating its use in the study abroad programs. Here are my references. Thank you.